picture this, it's 7 p.m. on a Friday night. Your IT team calls and says, hey, our files are locked and there's a ransom note has appeared on our screens.
Being in that uncomfortable area, the uncertainty.
Let's fix it quietly. The biggest mistake that leaders make in that first 24 hours.
The opening line of the plaintiff's.
Good one. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, What Happens When It Happens? Are You Cyber Incident Ready? I'm Sharon Shofner of Aeren LPO, where we help organizations navigate legal, operational, and incident response readiness in high-pressure moments. So here's the truth. Most organizations still treat a cyber incident as a technology problem. It's not. It's actually an organization-wide event that tests leadership, communication, decision-making, all under stress. It's just the best time to manage, corporate culture and corporate communications. So we thought this was a good chance, a good time to talk about what cyber incident readiness looks like and how you need to be thinking about it. So with me today is someone who's seen all of this firsthand. It's Fidan Mirzad, and she's a cybersecurity expert who has guided response teams through ransomware attacks, data breaches, and insider threats. So Fidan, would you, first of all, thank you for joining us, and then tell us a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where you're at. Thank you so much for having me, Sharon. My name is Fidan Mirzad, as Sharon mentioned. I am the CEO and founder of FM Cyber. FM Cyber is a small cybersecurity consulting firm, really helping clients navigate cyber crises through helping them with threat actor negotiations and helping them through putting together the dream team when clients go through cyber attacks. That means getting together legal, forensics, PR, all the vendors in place so that a client is in a well-put place to go through an incident response. On the proactive side, my company helps clients prepare for the incident by reviewing their incident response plans, by putting together the compliance requirements, everything really, and also putting together tabletops, everything that one needs to be prepared for cyber incident. Because as we all know, at this point in age, cyber incident is not a matter of if, it is really a matter of when it happens, unfortunately.
Yep.
Little bit just about my background, what I bring in. I'm an attorney, so I've advised my clients on the incident response, on cybersecurity requirements from the legal side. I've spent some time in insurance, so I've really spent some time advising clients on their not on coverage, but what they have and kind of how they use their policy better when they get hit by an incident. When an attack happens. And on the consulting side, I've helped clients like I do now with threat actor negotiations, anyone from Fortune 50 to all the way small, medium-sized businesses, guiding them through threat actor communications as well, which gives me a good kind of overview, as Sharon mentioned earlier, of seeing different types of incidents of different sizes, and which is why I'm excited about this webinar today. So thank you for being here.
Great, that's great background. So let's kind of think about when that first alert hits the screens. So I'm a storyteller. I say, picture this: it's 7 p.m. on a Friday night. Your IT team calls and says, hey, our files are locked and there's a ransom note has appeared on our screens. And by morning, the production has stopped in the plant. Customers are posting online before your company has even had time to issue a statement. So I know you've seen this many times, but sort of just kind of walk everybody through what unfolds in these first few hours.
Absolutely. So really, an incident hits. threat actors notice, right? The bad guys, the hackers notice, which is why they tend to do it at a time that where everybody is already, turned off their laptops, or they're about to leave, or they've already left, and it's like, Friday to Saturday kind of early mornings. And when this happens, the very first call, obviously, the IT is going to be the first call. Somebody makes a call, hey, listen, I can't get into my emails, right? And then the IT will kind of try to do a little bit of a diagnosis, and they'll realize that this is something bigger than what they're usually accustomed to. And depending really on the organization size, right? If you're a large organization, obviously you're going to have a security team who's going to take a look at this. But if you're a small organization with limited resources and a budget, you're probably going to have, all you have is your IT, right? And sometimes even that IT is really outsourced. So the call from the IT is going to go to the management, to whoever really their first call is, right? To tell them, hey, this is the problem we're having. We have a ransom note, and what happens then? Now, that's really the part where I get involved, right? Where, depending on wherever I've sat before handling incident response, what they're going to do with what an impacted client or an impacted organization, what they will do is they will do one of two things. One, they will either try to get in touch with their broker or their insurance, depending if they have cyber insurance. And number two, they will try to get in touch with their attorney. Because, when I say attorney, I don't mean really even general counsel as much as I mean their outside legal counsel, right? That is going to be very, very important to an incident response process, having that legal counsel in place. Now, that could come through really calling my GC and telling them, hey, put me in touch because this is the incident we're dealing with, or this could be really just that directly knowing who that legal firm is and just reaching out to them. The very first few hours, we don't know, right? And we don't know what we don't know. So we have to be comfortable being in that uncomfortable area, the uncertainty. So this is going to involve getting together the very few hours. It's going to involve putting together a team who's going to help us go through this incident response. Now, what I mean by that, we obviously need the legal team. So the legal team is going to be there, as I mentioned it. We're going to need, number two, the forensics team, the team who is going to figure out what happened and when it happened. And all of that is going to come really down the line. But number one thing that they're going to figure out is how to stop the bleeding. I always say this, number one thing in an incident is really not, I want to know what happened and when it happened. Unfortunately, we're not going to have those answers in the very first 24 to 72 hours. It's going to be, can we make sure that the bad guys have left our systems, that we've stopped the bleeding, that we've contained the situation, and then we can take step by step and talk about the next steps. So really your forensics, your security team, kicking out the bad guys is going to be your number one priority. Doing that at the direction of counsel is going to be even more important, because whenever we are thinking of any incident, really any crisis, we're thinking of that, we are anticipating any potential litigation. So anything we're doing, we want to make sure that we're doing that at the direction of counsel. I am not acting as an attorney right now, or I'm not practicing, I haven't been in a while, but you can't take the attorney out of me. So it's always going to be that thing that I'm going to say, hey, do you have your legal counsel on the call? Do you have your legal counsel directing all of this, right? So we have to be very, very mindful of that. So it's going to be number one thing we're going to do, again, stop the bleeding, contain the situation, and then we move on to next steps.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that is that there's this mindset that is, let's fix it quietly, and making sure you educate especially IT teams who are new to this, and managers who are new to this, that you really can't fix it quietly. You really have to make sure that you have a clear path to making sure you follow the right steps within this process, because the worst thing you can do is get down to the point of you have to explain yourself in litigation years down the road, and you've maybe had emails or texts or missteps that could have been cleared up very easily by contacting that forensics team and the legal team. And I think they're really critical to have them in early. I agree with that. And I think I think clarity And working in a efficient way is really much more important than perfection. So we're not looking for perfection. So I don't want to kind of make it seem like that's what we're saying. I think what we're saying is, just make sure you're doing it in a organized way. Go ahead, Ed.
I will say one thing that to your point, Sharon. So I've seen kind of clients fall into two buckets. It's always one or the other extreme. It's when I realize a client is really prepared is actually when they're in moderation, right? When they're right in the center in terms of how they respond to an incident. So typically, what I'll see a CEO or the C-suite level who's going to say, kind of, we're shifting to to blame, right? Who did this and how, and then kicking them out of the call, which is a bad idea, or we're trying to keep it under wraps. Also a bad idea. Or because if we think that we're going to notify our insurance company, our premiums are going to go up, well, we have to stop thinking of our cyber insurance as car insurance, because your premiums are going to go up if you don't tell them and you don't know how to handle it. And then there's a huge litigation and they have to deal with the aftermath.
There you go. Yes. Understand of, they're there to help you. And to be honest, they're oftentimes the folks who have the most experience in how to move forward and make sure everything is managed properly. So I think it's actually good to have them on the team. So when you think about that first immediate notification and decision making, who do you bring into that room? A virtual room or in person. Who do you bring in, and who's often left out that you want to raise the red flag for?
So in a very first call that we're having, I like to call that caller, like we all really do, the industry is scoping call, right? We're going to bring in the insurance company if the client has a cyber insurance carrier. Then there's going to be the legal team, the forensics team, as I mentioned earlier, and depending on whether we're dealing with a data incident where there's no communications with the threat actor required. So then if there is, then there's going to be a threat actor communications vendor all involved. And depending on the severity of the incident, or depending on the high profile, whether the organization is high profile, whether the incident is high profile, we're going to bring in PR vendors as well, right? So sometimes really clients, their own PR or marketing teams are not very well equipped to handle that. Again, depending, right? But they're going to be there. But we want to bring in PR, legal, forensics, and your threat actor communications team are going to be your team that's guiding you through an incident response. Now, who is usually left out of that, I would say probably is going to be somebody from internally within the organization. There's going to be someone who's an important part of the conversation and who's not on a call for whatever reason. That's actually at that point unknown to us, right? Because we're there to help the client, but the client has their own agenda or their own objective, and sometimes they're not really open about it. Now, I'm going to talk down the line about things that how you can really open up that communication channel that actually helps build trust between the client and their team, so that when an incident happens, they are actually all on the same page. But what happens sometimes is I'll get on a call and I'm talking to the CEO or the president or the owner of the company or the CFO, or depending on the delegation, and I'll ask questions that may be technical in nature, and they're going to say, well, we don't have a technical team on call, right? And if that technical team is outsourced MSP, like master services provider, it's understandable why they're not on that call, but they should be, because simply the organization does not have the necessary information for me to understand what's happening or what's happening.
Right. Yeah.
But I can provide my best advice.
Right. And for organizations who are thinking about this, how can we better position ourselves? We're going to talk through some of the things you can think about here. We're also going to give you a checklist that maybe you can, utilize within your organization. And we do have a workshop, we'll talk about it later, that really helps, the organization to get prepared and identify what type of incident this is, get the right people in the room the first time, and then follow through and get everybody on the same page. So, kind of while the technical team is triaging, which is kind of that first, priority, the real test begins, because this is how, when you have to mobilize the rest of the organization. So, you have to make sure the rest of the organization organizes the communications, and stays aligned. So, every cyber incident is a little bit different. I think about when you do get those folks in the room, legal wants accuracy and process and kind of tight process, that takes a little bit longer. PR, they want speed. They want to know, what can they say? What's going on? How can we get out in front of this from a PR perspective? Really important perspective. The leadership, they really just want it to go away, but they want some reassurance that the team is handling it the best way they can. And really, the IT teams are focused on getting those systems back up. And so you can see how those differing priorities might actually create some frictions. And so when you see this out there in some of the groups that you've worked with, what's the biggest friction point you see between these teams, when this crisis is unfolding?
The biggest friction point would be really lack of trust, and also too many chefs in the kitchen. It doesn't always work.
Well, actually, the lack of trust and too many cooks in the kitchen can cause just a maelstrom of you can start to create factions. You can start to create back channels. You can, really a toxic situation. Honestly, this goes in a crisis. This is when the worst behaviors, come to the forefront. Honestly, that's what I see.
Yeah, and it's really, what that does is, well, number one, there's really two things, right, to think about when an incident happens: how prepared your internal team is. And when I say internal, I mean your internal legal, your internal, C-suite, your security team, your IT team, depending on whether you have them separated or they're part of the same umbrella as an IT, and your PR team. Now, the issue usually is that they don't know each other. So when there's an incident to handle, it's kind of like, hey, I'm Bob and I'm Lauren. It's the first time we're pretty much meeting you, right? And then I just know you as someone I just go to when I have a ticket. I just send it to IT. That's how much I know you. Or you send compliance here. So nobody knows each other that well. So when there's an incident, everybody tries just to say that, hey, my team did well. It's really the other department's problem. It's the other department's problem. And then you've got the C-suite, who's just, they have to have some information ready for them because they have to go and talk to the board, right? So that's your number one friction. The number two friction is going to be depending on how well your external teams work together. So your external legal team and how well they are at their job, how good they are at their job to actually navigating the incident. Because you have legal teams that will kind of, cross the lane to threat actor communications, to forensics, and it'll just sound like everything is coming from legal. And it can be on a, surface level, it just can be plain annoying to work with that team, honestly. And that's going to be like your external. So how well your external team works together and how well your internal team knows each other and works together. And then at the end, to put them together, how well your internal and external teams work together with each other is going to determine how well you respond to that incident, right? And understanding that, just understanding and not making it personal, where the CEO's problem is not going to be the same problem as legal. So the legal is obviously very risk averse. So what they want to do is not going to be what the CEO wants to do, and trying to find a way to come to a conclusion where it doesn't open up the company to much more liability, but still, allows the company to keep, doing the business as usual is going to be, and not making that, again, taking the emotions out of a place where the emotions are so high, and everything they know best. Doing that is going to be key, really, right? Take away the emotions, look at it as another problem, business problem you're having. We mentioned this in the beginning, right? This is not an IT problem. It's a business continuity problem. It's a problem that you're going to have to eventually disclose, depending on the severity of an incident, to your stakeholders and shareholders. So treat it as such. Don't treat it as, we're trying to point fingers. And again, two buckets of management, right? One is going to tell you, I don't want to tell anything at all, ever. And the other is going to be, I want to say everything and I want to protect everything. That's also bad. They have the good intentions, but saying too much in the beginning when you don't have the information ready is going to open them up again to a lot more scrutiny, a lot more questions. So it's really
fear, fear from the stakeholders, the customers, so it's really important. And if you've got that discord within the group. Now, believe you me, I have never been part of any of these crisis-oriented kinds of discussions where there wasn't great debate about how things should be handled. But you want the debate, and then you want to make decisions, and you want to have a clear path. And if you're not ready, you will get ready quickly in this incident. And if you don't plan ahead, you can maybe make some missteps. You can delay finding out key issues from the forensic side. You can make some missteps that will impact potential litigation down the road. You will misinform stakeholders and then have to reinform them and update your issues. So I don't know, being prepared, I just feel like, do the best you can. You can never be prepared for everything, but do the best you can. And the team that you put together in here, they just have to understand that that's their first priority. Their first priority is that team and this particular crisis and management. And once they all look at that as my first priority, I'm not protecting my team, I'm not pointing fingers, we're figuring out how we're getting through this. We can do that later, we can figure it out later. So I guess if the folks who are on the phone, just think about your own organization. How have your legal and PR and I teams, have they ever even sat in a room to work through any kind of crisis or even any kind of big company issue? It's really not a team that gets together on a regular basis unless it's in a crisis mode. So let's kind of illustrate these dynamics with another scenario that's a real life scenario, and it's a fast multi-department response. Must move, they must move together. So let's do a regional healthcare provider. They discover that a patient records have been leaked. They have 72 hours, of course, to notify regulators, but it's out. Media has started calling them, so what happens next?
Again, legal team, right? The right legal team in place. If the incident happens, for example, today, there is no way in 72 hours you can actually know what has happened. You just don't know the severity of the incident. You don't know the extent of the incident to actually provide the complete answer. However, what happens is there's going to be an employee leak, right? Information on Twitter, some disgruntled employee will say something, and obviously the patients will find out about it. How you handle it? You handle it by always having the narrative, control over the narrative, right? And this is not to manipulate the story. This is nothing. It's just, if you don't tell your story, one will be written for you. And this is this is a kind of philosophy I live by in every aspect of my life. So you always have to be there to actually, not to shy away from it, not to manipulate it, you just have to control and own your own story. And so when an incident happens, the key, especially in a large healthcare matter, is going to be really bringing in the right PR vendors who will work hand in hand, in tandem with the legal team to make sure that they're not saying anything that would open up to the healthcare organization more liability, but actually, tell their side of the story. And by story, I mean, it could be just 2 sentences where dealing with a technical incident, with a security incident, because we don't know if it's a breach or not. We don't know yet. Breach is a legal word and term of art. We don't want to use that willy-nilly. We're dealing with a security incident. And we'll get back to you. We have our third-party external vendors helping with it. We'll provide information as it becomes available. Now, even that sentence that already instills some level of confidence to shareholders, stakeholders, patients. We're owning it. We're taking care of it.
Yeah, we're there. Now, Aeren, we come here. This is something that we deal with on a regular basis. Cyber is, one of our specialties, and healthcare is as well, just because that's growing. And it's also one that you have to handle with, within the context of significant regulatory, oversight. And so we oftentimes will have to deal with getting that file ready the notification list of all the impacted, stakeholders within the organization and outside the organization. And we just had one recently where we had to deploy in order to get through this in a reasonable amount of time so that they could put together their 72-hour report out. We were able to deploy. We have a huge team. We have 80 folks that are dedicated to cyber. We can grow beyond that. We have 300 folks that work. And I have to say, I think you need to have that kind of a relationship with your vendors so that you can manage this effectively. And that communication, because you're oftentimes communicating PR-wise out before you know who's involved. And I agree, don't use legal terms in that notification. So really bring the people in who know what they're doing, and make sure that my recommendation is make sure that your internal PR team has an external PR team that has expertise in this on speed dial, and know when you need to bring them in and help you to navigate this in a way that feels, so if I'm a customer or a shareholder, I'm feeling confident that you've got it under control as best you can.
Yeah, and this is going to be tricky when you're a small organization. So I understand, some of you, if you belong to a startup or you belong to an SMB, right, where you can just say that, hey, listen, like I mentioned earlier, my IT is outsourced. Like all we have is just like 11 computers in my office. So what are you talking about, like having these teams on speed dial? Well, a couple of things to think about them. Obviously, in those specific cases, cyber insurance is going to be even that much more important. Having cyber insurance, exactly. The policies will allow you have panel of vendors you'll be able to choose from, or most of the cyber insurances that you have right now, carriers, they're competing really to get your business by having experts on their teams, so to actually help you when you get hit by an incident. And also, it's not obviously or if it's your SMB, it's not your job to know all the vendors in place, right? There are
no. Yeah, agreed.
Organizations who will help you actually put together that team, right? One of the things that we also do is really, if you have an incident and if you call just us, right, we'll be able to put together that team based on your incident. Or if you have a cyber insurance, you're going to go through them and they will put you through a legal, forensics, PR. However, down the line, or even just thinking about it, if your budget and if your resources allow you to develop those relationships before such an incident happens, it's going to be such a time saver and a money saver for you down the line.
A confidence booster as well. Yeah. So what we've learned in these first 24 hours is really that, these are the first 24 hours isn't just about technology. It's actually about leadership. It's about coordination, trust. And preparedness is really your best defense. The organizations that recover quickly are the ones that have already defined the roles. They've already tested communication flows. They've already practiced decision-making under pressure. Super important, and to help you make that next step in getting you prepared. Whether you're a small organization or you're one that has an established process, it can never hurt to have, additional thinking. But we've got a step-by-step checklist that we'll be sending out to the folks who attended, and we wanted to also give you a departmental readiness self-assessment, just to give yourself, how ready are we as an organization? And some of you are quite ready, but maybe you have a couple of gaps, and some of you might have, significant gaps, and just address some of the bigger ones. We only have a few minutes left, so what we usually do is a rapid fire round of questions. And, but I think I'm going to see if anyone else has put out any questions. So let me just do a quick look at that. Okay, so let me look at the Q&A. I just want to make sure that we capture. Yeah, we don't have any questions, and that's fine. I think a lot of times people are looking to get information. They're not looking to have, a critical thinking moment. So before we wrap up, I'm going to do just a couple of lightning rounds. So, when you think, the biggest mistake that leaders make in that first 24 hours? You know, I have my perspective, but I want to know yours.
Overshare or undershare is going to be number one mistake that they do. They either overshare too much information. They will say, we know for sure that my company's personally identifiable information have not been impacted. And that's going to be the opening line of the plaintiff's.
Good one. I think, you know, my perspective is it's really siloed decision making. I feel like, you know, IT is talking to vendors to help solve their IT problems. PR is drafting statements. Legal is reviewing statutes, but nobody's really talking to one another. And I think that's, you know, we have a workshop. So Fidan and I have a workshop called What Happens When It Happens. It's a day-long workshop. We insist it's in person. Well, we don't insist. We can do it virtually, but we like it in person. And it's where you actually experience the confusion in real time. You learn to work together. You learn how to fix things with a single decision hub. And nothing is more powerful than the group that's focused on this problem. You get to the end goal so much faster, so much better. And it's really eye-opening how, you know, in our workshop, how it changes from the beginning of the workshop to the end when everyone's aligned to reduce the risk. So I think that's all we have. This is the end of our session. I just want to say thank you, Fidan, so much for sharing your expertise and your real-world experience. That was absolutely wonderful.
My pleasure.
Great. And to everyone who joined us today. So thank you for taking the time to strengthen your organization's resilience. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully our follow-up information guides are helpful. And just, you know, think about when a cyber incident strikes, you know, your first 24 hours define your next 24 months. So really being prepared. So on behalf of myself and Aeren LPO, I really want to, and of course our team and Fidan, our partner experts, you know, thank you for joining us, and stay cyber ready. Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.